Good evening, and welcome back to the Heal Security Dispatch Deep Dive. I'm Mark Davis, a cybersecurity analyst.
And I'm Diana Richards, a technology strategist focused on keeping healthcare secure.
We're your trusted source for the latest in cybersecurity trends and expert insights, proudly presented by Heal Security.
And today is Friday, April 11th, 2025. Quite a mix today.
We do. We're going to look at, this odd new Windows folder that's popping up, the just huge growth in healthcare cyber spending, the pressure CISOs are under, plus some really big breaches, unfortunately, and then what healthcare leaders are talking about, and the FDA stepping up on medical device security.
Lot to cover. It all connects, though, doesn't it?
It really does. And, hopefully we can help make those connections clear.
Okay, so let's dive right into something maybe pretty immediate for Windows users. That security fix from Microsoft. Well, it seems to have left behind this new folder, inetpub. And, if you're like me, you see a new folder you didn't create, you kind of wonder.
You wonder what it is, yeah. Is it safe? Should I delete it? Natural questions.
Right.
But Microsoft is being really clear here. Do not delete that folder.
Okay. Why not? What is it?
Well, this inetpub folder, it's actually tied into configuring features for Internet Information Services, ISA.
ISIS. Okay, that's Microsoft's web server stuff, right? Even if I'm not, running a website.
Exactly. Even on a personal machine, certain system functions might still rely on some of those underlying web service components. So deleting the folder could break things.
Okay. So the bottom line for users is, see inetpub, just leave it alone.
Pretty much. Microsoft's explicitly warning, deleting it could compromise security or just general system functions might stop working right.
So it might look like junk, but it's actually doing something important behind the scenes.
It seems so. And it kind of highlights how complex even basic system stuff is getting, right? Updates bring changes we don't always understand immediately.
Yeah, good point. Gotta trust the guidance sometimes.
You do. Now let's shift gears, zoom out a bit to the bigger picture. The money side of healthcare cybersecurity. It's booming.
Booming feels like an understatement based on these numbers.
Yeah.
The projections are, from about $17 billion US in 2024 to over $73 billion by 2032.
73.4 billion. Yeah. It's staggering. That's a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 17.5% between 2025 and 2032.
Wow. 17.5% year-over-year growth. That's massive expansion, not just small steps.
Absolutely massive. And the main driver, it's pretty obvious. The huge growing demand for cybersecurity within healthcare itself.
Makes sense. Everything's going digital, EHRs, telehealth, connected devices.
Right. All that sensitive patient data, the critical infrastructure, it all needs protecting. It's become non-negotiable. So this kind of money, this investment, it really shows how seriously the industry is finally taking these cyber threats.
And you see the big players involved too, right? Cisco, IBM, FireEye.
Symantec, Trend Micro.
Thanks.
Yeah, the major cybersecurity firms are definitely focusing on this sector.
Which, just underlines how critical securing our health information is. This isn't some abstract problem. It's about our data, our personal medical details.
Exactly. It affects everyone. And, this focus, this money flowing in, it also shines a light on the human side of things, specifically the intense pressure on the chief information security officers, the CISOs.
Yeah, we hear more about that lately. The stress involved in that role.
It's immense. You're dealing with incredibly complex threats, technology that's changing constantly.
And the stakes are so high, especially in healthcare. You're defending against attackers trying to steal patient data or disrupt hospital operations. I can only imagine.
Right. And what's concerning is we're seeing reports of higher burnout rates among CISOs, even with salaries generally going up.
So the money isn't enough to compensate for the pressure.
Apparently not always, no. It suggests, the sheer weight of responsibility, the need to be constantly vigilant. It takes a toll that paychecks alone can't fix.
Which makes you ask, if the leaders are burning out, what does that mean for the security of the whole organization?
That's the critical question. It really points to companies needing to do more than just hire a good CISO. They need to provide real support, resources, training for the whole team.
And maybe focus on mental health, too. Work-life balance seems crucial in a role like that.
Hugely important. It's not just an HR nice to have. It's actually a core part of risk management now. If your security leader is stretched too thin, your security suffers. Period.
Yeah, their well-being directly impacts data security. Our security, really.
Precisely. And speaking of the threats they're up against, we've seen some pretty major breaches in the news recently. Just underscores the danger. Let's start with the U.S. Treasury Department, specifically the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency.
Oof. A federal agency breach? That's always concerning. What happened there?
Well, hackers managed to access, get this, 150,000 emails.
150,000. Wow. That's a lot.
It is. And it just shows, how sophisticated these attacks are getting. Even major government agencies, presumably with strong defenses, aren't immune.
And OCC emails. I mean, that could be really sensitive stuff. Financial regulation, communications, serious implications.
Potentially, yes. It raises big concerns about the security of government communications. They're investigating, of course, trying to figure out the full impact, who did it, but it's a stark reminder.
No kidding. And this isn't isolated, right? There was another big one internationally.
Yeah, Morocco's Social Security database got hit.
Oh, wow. Social Security data? That's incredibly personal. ID numbers, family info, maybe financial details.
Exactly. Huge potential for identity theft, all sorts of misuse. And beyond the individuals affected, it shakes public trust in the government's ability to protect their data.
A real blow to national cybersecurity confidence, I'd imagine.
It can be, yeah. So authorities there are investigating, trying to assess the damage, and importantly, trying to bolster defenses for the future.
Seems like healthcare continues to be a prime target, though. There was another big one at a U.S. lab company.
Unfortunately, yes. Laboratory Corporation of America Holdings, LabCorp, they had a significant breach.
How many people affected there?
About 1.6 million individuals had their health information exposed.
1.6 million. And that's not just names and addresses, is it? It's health data.
Right. Names, addresses, birth dates, but also, more sensitive health details were involved. It really, really ramps up the concern about security practices inside the healthcare industry itself.
That patient trust factor again, it's so critical, and breaches like this just erode it.
Absolutely. The consequences for those 1.6 million people could be really serious and long-lasting.
And it wasn't just data theft, right? There was also a ransomware attack with a big price tag.
Yes, switching sectors a bit, Ingka Group, they operate IKEA stores in Eastern Europe. They got hit by ransomware.
Okay, how bad was that?
Reportedly cost them around $23 million.
Wow, $23 million.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the ransomware recovery costs.
Yeah.
Their IT systems were compromised enough that they had to temporarily close some stores.
So real operational disruption on top of the financial hit?
Exactly. It shows how these attacks can cripple businesses.
Yeah.
It's not just about stealing data anymore. It's about extortion and disrupting operations on a massive scale.
Man, so government, Social Security, healthcare labs, major retail, these threats are just everywhere, affecting all sorts of sensitive information.
It paints a pretty stark picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The landscape is just constantly under attack. Makes you think about your own digital safety.
Definitely does. Okay, let's pivot slightly. Let's look inside the healthcare industry itself. What are the leaders talking about? The American Medical Group Association, AMGA, had their big conference recently.
They did, yeah. And several really key issues were front and center in their discussions.
Like what? What's top of mind for healthcare execs right now?
Well, health system consolidation was a big one. How hospitals and practices are merging.
That's been happening a lot.
It has. Also, the role of AI in healthcare. Huge topic. Both the potential and, the challenges, the ethics.
Right. AI is everywhere now. What else?
Workforce issues.
That's
especially the competition for doctors, for physician talent. That's intense. Then you have things like proposed Medicaid cuts worrying people, and also trying to sort of reboot value-based care models.
So lots of big, complex challenges. Financial pressures, workforce issues, policy changes.
Definitely. But what was interesting, apparently, was despite all these headwinds, there was still a sense of optimism, a kind of common purpose among the attendees.
That's good to hear. A proactive approach, maybe, trying to find solutions together.
Seemed like it. And connecting this back to our main theme, cybersecurity kind of underpins all of this, right? Well, you can't really deliver quality care. You can't implement AI safely. You can't maintain patient trust through consolidation or policy changes if your fundamental systems and data aren't secure. It's foundational.
Yeah, that makes sense. It has to be part of the conversation for all those other big issues.
Exactly. And speaking of foundations, one last area we wanted to touch on is the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. They seem to be getting much more proactive about medical device cybersecurity.
Which feels incredibly important. These devices are becoming so connected. Pacemakers, insulin pumps, hospital monitoring gear.
Absolutely vital.
Yeah.
The FDA is really stepping up its role here. The main goal, obviously, is patient safety.
Right.
As these devices get connected to networks, to the internet, they become potential entry points for attackers.
Mm-hmm.
And a hacked medical device, well, the consequences could be catastrophic.
So what are they actually doing? Is it just guidance or more concrete steps?
It seems like more concrete steps. They're implementing more rigorous guidelines, and they're working much more closely with the manufacturers, right from the design phase through the whole life cycle of the device.
Trying to build security in from the start.
That's the idea. Identify vulnerabilities, mitigate risks before the device ever gets to a patient. It's about safeguarding the whole healthcare infrastructure, making sure these critical devices work safely and securely.
That's definitely reassuring to hear they're taking that proactive approach.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a necessary step in this environment.
Okay, so to kind of bring it all together for our deep dive today, Friday, April 11th, we've really covered a lot of interconnected ground.
We sure have.
We started small with that inetpub folder in Windows, just showing how even little system things matter for security.
Mm-hmm. Then we looked at that huge growth in the healthcare cybersecurity market, all driven by the need to protect our health data.
Which led us straight to the people involved, the CISOs, and the immense pressure and burnout they're facing.
Yeah. And then the stark reality of the threats. With those big breaches, the OCC, Morocco, LabCorp, Ingka Group, affecting government, individuals, healthcare, business.
Right. We also touched on what healthcare leaders themselves are focused on, the big picture issues from the AMGA conference, and how security fits into that.
And wrapped up with the FDA getting proactive on medical device security, focusing squarely on patient safety.
So it really highlights how connected everything is, doesn't it? From your own PC to global threats to the systems that manage our health. Which leads to maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Okay.
Considering everything we've talked about today, all this interconnectedness, what practical steps can you personally take? Regardless of how tech-savvy you are, what can you do to better understand and protect your own digital footprint in this whole evolving landscape of tech and healthcare?
That's a really good question. Something for everyone to think about, definitely.
It is. Well, thanks for joining us for this Heal Security Dispatch deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll be back soon with more critical insights.